God, I miss the North Country, no power lines, no dead-end streets. Mother Nature waits for me back in the North Country.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming along on another Northwoods Ramble. I'm Seeley Dave, your Hyperborn reporter, coming to you from my little log cabin office once again, which is located at the base of the Hollywood Hills, just outside bustling downtown Seeley, Wisconsin. Seeley's nestled along the banks of the Great Namakagon River, where the cedar trees gracefully genuflect towards the water that gives them life. Seeley is also home to the Sawmill Saloon. I was just there last night with some friends. They had a great band there, a guy from he didn't know whether he's from actually North Dakota or South Dakota, which was kind of funny, but he was a good performer, and I was there with some friends. We were having a few old fashions. I have mine, Whiskey Press, but you can get yours, brandy, sweet or sour if you like as well. All their old fashions are delicious and finished with just a few dashes of regret. If you want something lighter, you can also get a latte, but it's going to be served cold in a 12-ounce can. Anyway, so I'm solo as a host again this episode, show number 4. My co-conspirator TJ is out of town with family. He hopefully will be back for the next show, or if not that show, maybe the show after that. But so what I'm doing for these shows now, I'm changing. We're getting the feel of this podcast, and I'm changing the format around a little bit from one show to the next. And I think I talked about this last show that I was thinking about doing a brief introduction after I record with guests. And we do have a couple of guests on this show, so stick around very soon. I'll jump to that interview with Daryl McNutt and Joel Harrison from New Moon Ski and Bike shop in Hayward here. The New Moon Ski and Bike is going to be taking over the Hungry Bear Gravel Race this year, and if you're a racer, you've probably already got an email notifying you about that. I'm transitioning ownership from me and my little LLC Life Above 8 to New Moon. They offered their help at the event last year. They had a crew on the ride, and we started chatting, and one thing led to another, and I decided it would be a great fit for New Moon to actually take over, and they were interested, so that's what's going to happen. Stick around after this brief introduction for the chat with Joel and Daryl. After that, I'm going to add another little segment after the interview, and I'm going to talk about some bikepacking gear that we have available for rent in our library. I'm going to get a little specific about sleeping pads, so stick around for all that, and hope you'll join us through this entire Northwoods Ramble. Hey everybody, it's Seeley Dave again, and I have with me in my little log cabin studio some guests from New Moon, and today we're talking Hungry Bear and how we're transitioning the ownership this year to New Moon from me. As you may remember, I took over the event when Tim Kruger from Esker Cycles, his business got too busy, he doesn't live here anymore, and he couldn't run it. So I held it, but it was not my intention. I am here to retire in the Northwoods, so it was not really my intention to continue running events like I did when I was at the Bike Fed. And so I've been kind of looking for, I also ran the Schwamigan 100, and I quickly gave that to Canva because I was all on Canva Trail, so it really made the most sense for them to run that event. And honestly, I don't ride 100 miles of I'm not that guy, so I didn't feel like I should run a race that I wouldn't do. But I do love gravel, and I held on to that for a while, looking for a good home for the Hungry Bear. And we were at the event last spring, and New Moon had kind of a big contingent there, and I was chatting with Daryl McNutt here, and this is Joel Harrison, but I was chatting with Daryl and mentioning I'm looking for a place for it, and he said, oh, New Moon might be interested. So we had a number of meetings about it, and it seems like a really good fit for you guys. So I don't know, why don't you guys, Daryl, maybe we'll just start with you and see why did you think of that when I was just mentioning I don't know what to do with this race?
Well, I think when we were talking and we were just sitting there at the registration, And I could see how much work you were doing with not a lot of help.
Yeah, me and my wife, basically.
Yeah. And I think my question, I was like, why did you just ask us for help? And you didn't realize that that was even a possibility. And
Right.
And then we started talking, and way back, well, I'd say way back when, 2019, I used to work on the Gitchy Groomy Grand Fondo with Tommy Matush and Jenny Halsman. And I was just thinking, I was like, well, I got all the plans, and you know, it's such a great event that, you know, definitely we could help out. And I think also where our, you know, where our ethics are at, where how we feel about the community is all in line as well, because we really want to give back. The Hungry Bear gives back to the community, and it just felt like a good fit.
Cool. Have either of you? I know you did it because you
Yep.
ridden in an ever, Joel?
I never seem to be in shape.
Or too busy, a bike shop owner. That's part of it.
It's really easy to say, "Hey, why don't you kids do it?" And I'll run the shop on Saturday.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is one of the you want to not ride a lot, become a bike shop owner, right? Because you just
It's been working out really well, but you know, we pick certain events and throughout the year that we're going to either travel and go do, or we're going to do some of the local ones. This is, even though I've never done the Hungry Bear, it's a neat one for me because there's so many people that come in to the shop afterwards, just really lit up about it, really enjoyed it. Had some folks are coming from an urban environment, maybe they've got some good gravel riding where they're at, but whatever it is, they come up and they ride those roads, and they've had a real wonderful semi-wilderness beauty experience. It's not so big.
Right.
It's a really pleasant event.
You know, I was surprised when I look at the heat maps. I see people, all these, there's a big hot spot down in Iowa, and then there's even stuff like out by Steamboat. So I was chatting with some people after the finish this year, and the first guy that came up to me and just was like, "Oh, thanks for another great event. You know, I'm here from Steamboat." And I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta ask. Like,
Yeah.
you guys have,
How did you?
you guys got lots of places to ride. You got lots of gravel. You've got Steamboat gravel. And he's like, "Oh, Steamboat's got nothing on this. This event is just great." And then the same thing, the guys from Iowa. I was like, Iowa City, what? You go 2 minutes outside of any town in Iowa and you're on endless gravel, you know? So I was like, why? And again, he said the same thing. He said that we just don't have gravel routes that have the diversity that and that is one of the things with this route that Tim Kruger created. It goes through so many different, you know, kind of biomes, from the stuff up on the northern end, up by Morgan Falls and stuff, has a very different feel to it than the stuff that does down, you know, closer to Cable and stuff, and then even out by Marengo, that changes and stuff. So I think when I took it over from Tim, I honestly I thought, you know, it was like 250 people, and I looked back through the registration, there was always 250, 280. I'm like, oh, I could, you know, I'm going to add, you know, age groups, and I'm going to, you know, we're going to do award. I'm going to make some sort of belt buckle-y, or you win a hatchet or something cool, like, you know, like Leadville races and stuff like that. And after I shadowed Tim and Odia the first year when I was talking about taking over it, I quickly realized that isn't what these people sign up for. And they really like the sort of the you're on your own ethos, that we don't have a ton of support, but you also, the price that helps us keep the prices low, the registration fees low, and it has kind of this family reunion vibe to it, more than that sort of like hyped up, you know, race face on at the start line feel to it, which those races we've got lots of in spades, and, you know, the lifetime events and stuff like that here in the Berkey and things. There's lots of those great top level, super high level of support things, and this doesn't have that. But you guys, Daryl, you were talking about adding a little bit more to it.
Yeah, and I think the DIY kind of concept we definitely want to keep that.
Mic up a little bit
There's a
more.
solid foundation there that you're right. Everybody, it is a family reunion feel, because like for us, we get to see all those friends that, on the bike side of the world that we missed for the whole winter time, and this is their first time out. But on the other hand, we want to make it so that we get a lot of new folks come in and just a little more support out there. We're probably going to have, I'm going to add 2 water stops there. And
Yeah, it was nice we got that unsolicited offer of help from the Lincoln Forest Trails Friends group, right?
Yep, exactly. And then another one, when Gitchigumi worked with the Washburn cross country team, and I talked to Dalton Collins and his wife, and they're fired up to do it again. And they used to put on a pretty fun stop for folks that everybody used to remember. So we'll have a couple stops along the way. Keep it simple.
And then Eric the Fox usually shows up from Embark. He usually shows up somewhere in the woods.
Yeah, and they saved a lot of people this year, because we all think we're getting prepared, but it's early in the season, and I know thanks to them, they saved me when I was out of water. So
right, yeah,
That's cool.
It is. I try to tell people you're on your own, and this year because we had such a late, the winter lasted so late, that campground in Beaver Lake, sort of halfway through the long course, has got a water pump, but the Forest Service had not opened that up, so it wasn't open, so there wasn't even that on the course this year.
Yeah, and we want to make that. I just want to make it a little easier for folks out there. You bring some of the new folks into it as well that haven't done gravel. You added the climbing cub, and
yeah, one of the things that I added to the event was some like discounts for kids. Like if you're a kid that's into, there's so many NICA kids around now and stuff, but those races cost a lot of money. That sport adds up. So doing it, I feel like if families had limited income to invest in bike racing, they might keep them. So I offered like a super cheap discount for the NICA kids. And then women still only make up such a small percentage of the folks at the start line. I offered like a sort of a 20% gender discount, because they normally only make up about 20% of the start line. We have had about 30% since we started doing that. So maybe that's helped. The other thing though is the shorter distance. I feel like that might help bring more people in and increase the diversity instead of just the typical guys that are out there hammering.
Well, I think also the thing that we agreed upon is keeping the entry fee low.
Right.
We know a lot of events, it's getting pretty pricey, and we want to make sure that we keep it so that, the whole family can do it and not break the bank. And we plan on keeping some of those discounts going, obviously, for NICA kids. And we just want to bring as many people as we can and up to the area and have a great event. And, there'll be Tilly's Pie again, which has always kind of become a tradition. And
I think we could keep the registration Friday at Rivers,
yes.
Even if we were talking about moving the whole start finish out, since the Telemark Village project is progressing. We're talking about moving the whole start finish thing maybe out to Telemark area, and just there's so much parking there and everything. But the event was started as a shoulder season event to help the local economy and those local businesses and cable. So and the bike shops when people come through. But so we kind of wanted to keep that focus there, and Mick Endersby also helped start this. Mick and Beth at the Rivers Eatery Pizza Place in Cable. So I thought if we do the registration pack and pickup stuff thing there Friday, we can just keep that there. That's easy.
Yeah, the Telemark Center is, everything's in flux there, so we're not sure, when they're going to break ground, and I do think keeping it in the cable proper. They're already talked to Berkey. They're going to allow us to use the parking again, so that'll help with some congestion. And
Joel, can you say a little bit about? I know it is in flux, but what you guys you're going to have a spot out at Telemark, right?
Yeah, and the timing is still up in the air on this. But what's already happened up there is pretty mind blowing. You know,
That new green trail that they built
Yeah.
is now my wife's favorite trail. It used to be Hospital Trails, and now that's her favorite trail.
there's
And-
been more and more demand for that.
yeah.
And I think that the sort of green trail concept, for those of us who've been in the sport for a long enough time, we don't see the need. But at the bike shop, we see a lot of people who've gotten scared on a
Right.
certain trail, and then they've had to quit the sport, and then encountered something like the Hospital Trail or the Green Trail, and then they're back in it.
Right.
And maybe they're actually going back to some of the trails that were too difficult for them, but they were able to build their skills.
Well, and the progressive loop design that they are constructing out there is great too, because like I think after a couple more trips out to those green trails, I'll be able to get Liz to follow me out on the blue, because
Yeah.
except for a couple of spots at the end, there's an around for every it's just
Actually, it was really, I think that was pretty well done.
Yeah,
That
I
piece was-
agree.
and I think that just to bring it back to the Hungry Bear, I think that creating a third short distance, I think we have to remember that, even though, we've been in the sport for a long time, we forget what the barrier to entry is.
Right.
For someone to drop $1,000 on a bike, to travel a couple hundred miles with some friends who are better than they are, but then if we can give people a comfortable place to land and start, all it takes is that one beautiful Saturday or the really cool event that gets you hooked for life on these things. And I think the Hungry Bear is, it's been a neat one for people.
Well, and we did grow it to 500 people this
That's
year, and
cool.
it still felt good I don't think we have any.
Didn't feel crazy like
No, I
Shawamigan
don't. I
or-
don't think.
yeah.
I think it could possibly grow just a little bit bigger too. I mean, I don't think there's really room for it to turn into one of those 2,500, Schwami style events. But
And that's really not our intention. We did expand it to 600 this year, just to get a few people that didn't, last year be able to make the cutoff. But really want to keep it focused on the community. And even, we're not going to bring in big sponsors. We're going to have community sponsors, and we're going to make it easy so everybody can, and all the businesses can participate and show people what it's like to live up here, make our community better, and really can, have an event that represents what we are up here.
cool. Well, I also thought, and I don't know, we can. I guess I shouldn't throw this out here while we're on video, but I will, because that's all. I thought maybe we could do a couple of just fun little raffle things or something at the end at Rivers too, to sort of keep the post party going there. I mean, this year we had Ursa Minor Brewing come there, and that's great. I think it's a bear brewery, and it's from Wisconsin.
that ties
so it
in.
makes sense to have them back if they want to come back, and that's a reason to go back to Rivers. Other than the delicious pizza and the great beer and the amazing vibe that they have there, and Trudy with the pies next door, but I thought maybe we could, since you guys are in the business, and we
That
throw
is
a few
the plan.
items.
We're going to talk to local businesses. I'm going to have probably 10 to 12 really kind of cool raffle prizes to give away, and there's all you have to do is register, and everybody's going to be entered, and then we'll do it at Rivers
Sweet.
afterwards.
Sweet.
We'll
That's
just
awesome.
have to ask the Jacksons not to put their tickets in the hat. They always win something.
That's funny. So just real quick before we go, we just wanted to do a short little update to introduce sort of like the new faces that you may see at the Hungry Bear in the organization, and you may hear from Daryl and Joel and some of the other folks at New Moon about in further email communications about the event. It won't just be Seeley Dave at the end, but I will still be around, and I love the event. It feels like my family reunion now, even after the few short years I've been helping with it. So I'll certainly be helping out, and I'll be there at registration and the finish and stuff. But I may actually be able to get out on the course and do some photos again this year.
Yeah, and we're going to have a new website coming. There'll be more communications, and again, we just took this over, so we wanted to get this transition of ownership, but then we'll start communicating and getting that out to everybody that's on the mailing list and also on our Facebook page.
Cool. So, so anybody that's coming through the area, New Moon is right on Highway 63, just on the way to Cable, just outside of Hayward, on the right side of the road, on the east side of Highway 63, and it's a great shop. It's got a log cabin vibe to it, just like this does. And certainly stop in and you can say hey and check out the shop. What else? Anything else you guys want to let folks know about?
One thing I'd like to interject is that we've had a couple of wrenches in the building for, like, these guys have been working half of their life fixing derailleurs and cables and bottom brackets right before events, and they really enjoy that. And
oh, nice.
It's a big part of one of the things that kind of keeps our staff pretty motivated, is being able to save a weekend every now and then for someone.
Sure.
So don't be shy.
Okay.
You know.
Cool. And then if you are up here, if you're coming up here or you live up here and you're here for like a week or something, you guys have like weekly shop rides and stuff as well, right?
Yep, we're both a little tired from last night's Tuesday. But Tuesday ride, there's a road ride, and there's also a mountain component.
And they're both on Tuesday.
Both on Tuesday night, but we often get together later. There was one of our 16-year-old riders at his birthday party last night, so there was
nice
food and cake and
awesome.
Awesome. It was a pretty fun night. So.
All right. Well, thanks guys. Thanks for doing this. And my regular co-conspirator TJ, he's had a death in the family, so he hasn't been able to be on the show. He may not be on this show for a little while yet. The family death was out of state, so they've had estate things to deal with and stuff like that. So he's been gone and dealing with this kid Anne Marie and stuff like that. But so hopefully we'll have some other local celebs on our show in the next coming weeks or so. And other than that, thanks, Joel and Daryl and Christy in the corner over there and New Moon. And thanks everybody for coming on this Northwoods Ramble.
Dave, thanks. And thanks for your advocacy over the years.
You bet.
Thank you.
Okay. And we're done.
It's Seeley Dave back again. I hope you like that chat with Joel and Daryl, and I hope you feel just as I do that New Moon is going to be a great fit as the new owners of the Hungry Bear 100 gravel race. So thanks to those guys for coming on the show, and thanks a lot for taking over the event. But as I said in my introduction, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the gear that we will have for rent. We actually have it for rent. It's not yet up on the websites as a rental item at New Moon Ski and Bike or at Riverbrook Bike and Ski in Hayward. Those are both great bike shops in Hayward, Wisconsin, just down the road from me, 10 miles. And they already rent bikes and stuff, so as I said in some of the previous shows, it just seemed like a good idea to give them the gear lending library that we purchased with some of the profits of the Hungry Bear, and they will put it on their Recreal Go site so you can rent it. If you're a local, you can check it out for free. There'll be nominal fees. We haven't set those fees yet. They won't be expensive, but it'll be an affordable way to try bike packing if you want to come up here and give that something a try without having to invest the $1,200 or $1,500 that you might have to spend to get all the fancy lightweight tents and sleeping pads and sleeping quilts and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, so on this show, I've got some of the sleeping pads that we've got available. And I'm just going to walk through them so you have an idea of what they are and how big they are. So this is my personal sleeping pad. This is a Thermarest Neo Air Uberlight. It's a mouthful, right? But this is $220, $230, depending on where you find it retail price. And as you can see, it's extremely small. It's very comfortable. I like it a lot, but it's pretty darn expensive. It's about one of the most expensive pads you can buy because it is the smallest and the lightest pad out there. It is 8.5 ounces. So that's my pad. And I was looking for something similar in size and weight, but much more affordable. And what I came across was these Xped Ultra 1R pads. These were about $120, I think I paid for them. And there, as you can see, it's pretty darn, it's just a shade bigger than the Thermarest. It is 14 ounces, so 5 ounces, let's do my math here correctly. This was 8.5, so, and this is 14, so 6 ounces, 5 ounces, something like that, a little bit heavier, but not much. Still very light, very small, very compact, so easily you can fit this and the Enlightened Equipment quilt and the tent all in that front bag for the Salsa Anything cradle that we have for rent. I have a couple other different models in the Gear Lending Library as well. I've got another X-Ped. This is the Ultra 3R, so it's got a higher R value for later in the fall. If you're sleeping and the ground is cold, this will keep you a little bit warmer, or earlier in the spring. It's not really a winter R value pad, but it would probably work in a pinch if you wanted to do winter camping. And this weighs 16 ounces compared to the 14 ounces. So a couple more ounces, you get a couple additional R values. And as you can see, it's just a shade bigger than the in size than the 1R, but marginally so. I also have a few of these. These were $30 Big Agnes Aircore Ultras, and these are significantly bigger and heavier than the X-Ped pads. So I've got a couple of these. This one weighs 1 pound 10 ounces, and it is bigger. I'm not sure you could pack this in the Anything cradle bag with the tent and the quilt. You might be able to fit it in there, but so these are still reasonable. They're very comfortable. They don't inflate as easily as these. These, I think, the X-Ped bags have the best bag system with their schnozzle that connects to it, and you don't have to blow in these bags to inflate them. You just fill this sort of bag up and squeeze it in a less than a couple minutes. You've got a fully inflated sleeping pad, and it also doesn't put that moisture inside the pad, which is can cause mold issues from continually blowing your moist breath into a sleeping pad. So, but Big Agnes comes with one of those bags as well, an inflation bag. It doesn't work as well as this one does, and the Thermarest doesn't. It came with one, and it barely works at all. I don't even bother with it. I just blow it up basically because so this Thermarest though has their original screw type nozzle on it. The new model, I got this when it first came out, the new model of Thermarest Uber Light has the X-Wing valve, which they claim is easier, and so maybe the inflation bag is easier for the newer one, but for $230, I'm not sure I would buy one again now that I've found these X-Ped 1Rs or the 3Rs. So anyway, so those are the sleeping bags that we have. We have the X-Peds and the Big Agnes Ultra Aircores that you can check out. And as I've said, we're going to have that all up on the rental pages for New Moon Ski and Bike and Riverbrook Bike and Ski, and you'll be able to rent those from them, or locals check them out for free. I will be going through some of the other gear in a little quick additions like this at the end of each show till we walk through the rest of the gear and talk about each of it that we have, each item that we have available for rent. So I hopefully enjoy the new format for the Northwoods Ramble with the introduction, the guests, and then this closing thing. That may change a little bit depending on our topics in the future, but I appreciate your feedback. If you want to leave some, I think you can leave comments and stuff in the either below the videos on YouTube or in Spotify or Apple. I think they both have a place to leave comments on the podcast. So, so if you give me some feedback, I'd be happy to integrate those suggestions if I can make that work. But otherwise, this is going to be Seeley Dave signing off on the Northwoods Ramble. Thanks for coming along this time, and we'll see you again soon. I'm going to let Hugh Bob and the Hustle take us out with their great Northwoods song. Bye-bye.
I missed the North Country, no power lines, no dead end streets.